Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel again. I hope you're having a great day. Well, this is going to be very short but informative. So what I've got here is I was doing something else actually for a video to show something. So I'm going to take what this is going to show. What I'm going to do is kind of give you a few little examples of how you can make clouds out of the sky into the sky. Put the clouds in. You're going to have, this is a mop brush. It's floppy. It's very soft. Doesn't have any chisel edge. It's not a point. It's a mop brush, and that's for making washes like you see right here. So I'm going to come in and get the color again, real wet, and this doesn't show up much. Okay, let's put the wash down again. It does great for usually you wet the paper, you get it really wet, which it is at the moment anyway, because I was doing something. So see, we've got this, it just kind of distributes the water all around in that area that you're trying to make this beautiful, lovely wet on wet wash. And it does not go any further because I did not wet the bottom. If I wet the bottom, then this would continue down. I would just keep going. Okay, so now we have a wash, a very wet wash. Before it dries much, I want to show you how you can take out clouds. With the mop brush, just put it down, wiggle it around. I just took out the paint there and made a cloud. Let's go to one of these brushes. I can do it the same way. I don't have any paint and I don't have hardly any water on here. I can still do that. I can make different kind of clouds. It takes out the paint. Excuse me. I can try a small one. What I want is a dry brush that doesn't have paint on it. Swiggle it around, and I can take out paint and make my clouds. You'll have to keep going in, take the paint off, wipe it on the towel. That would be a small brush. That's what that would look like with a small brush. Wash it off again. Let's try this big flat brush. Same idea. Sure it's dry. Come in. Yep, and do the same thing. Take that off, the paint, get the paint off, get it fairly dry. Wiggle it around. Just the flat part even does a nice job. Take the paint off, same thing. Let's try a smaller flat brush. We'll do the same idea. We're taking paint out. Has to be wet for this. Everything has to be wet, except for the brush you're using. See, it does a nice job. Each one's going to make a bigger cloud, fatter cloud, wider cloud. Let's try this one called a cat's tongue. See? Simple thing is, see, I like to make these tutorials really simple when I'm teaching something. See that? We've got wonderful, lovely looking clouds. Wash it off, come back out, wipe it on the paper towel. So the lesson there is the bigger the brush, the bigger cloud you're going to get. And then if I come back here, I can take some paint, I can wipe it off, right? Before I take it up, put it into the water, I can distribute it somewhere else. So let me take another space out. So say let's get that paint off there, get it dry, fairly dry. You got I'm trying to get it pretty white here. Yeah, that's good. Now, come over here, wiggle it around, or even just get whatever, just get more paint, put it back in for like shadows of the cloud. But that's a cool way to make clouds. Then I could also just take this paper towel that I'm using, scrunch it all up, and come in here and do the same thing. See that? Just wipe it off. wipe out the color and get some pretty clouds. See that? There's just a lot of different ways. You can use brushes or you can use things like paper towels. Actually need some more dry paper towel. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do, but the whole fun of it is experimenting and see what, it has to be wet though. The here has to be wet. I could use this palette knife. I could make sure I could actually take, it's going to make a different look though. See, I'm taking paint out with the palette knife, but I'm getting a bit of a different look because it's, but I mean, depending on what you want, this could work very well, right? This is a palette knife. Wipe off the paint, because it only works if you kind of scrape it. You're scraping it off. But that's another way to take out the paint to make a cloud. The other way, of course, is say you just had this all on here and it was dry, and now you're like, oh no, I forgot my clouds. Okay, so you can have a fairly, get a clean brush, a little water on it, come over to your white. You can add it in, you know. So if you forgot, you can always take your white, put them in, make some clouds that way. So all is not lost when you forget. It's just fun figuring out all these things and getting to know all these things and what happens. And it wouldn't, you know, it doesn't matter what color you put on or how many layers you put on. But once this starts to really dry, or when it gets totally dry, that you're not going to be able to do that. You'll have to wet it again and then, you know, pull out your paint, because you're pulling out paint. So if it's dry, there's nothing to pull out, basically. So, you know, people use all kinds of things. They use salt, they use cellophane paper. Once you get going, you can try things yourself. Just think of something in your house that you might want to use. I could take this bunch of tape, right? I have a thing of tape here. I can get it all into a scrunchy thing here. I could get it a little bit wet and then come over and, I don't know if this would work or not. Not very well. Okay, so some things will work and some things won't, and that's the whole fun of trying things out. So like I said, this is a very, very short, one of my shorter teaching tutorials just on on making clouds from the wash you put down, which usually is always very wet. And so then you can use your brushes to take the paint out. You have to put it in the water, wash it off, dry it on the paper towel a bit for the most part, and come in and just, you know, like we did, like this, squiggle it around and get the paint off, or use the paper towel, or whatever other thing that you have discovered that works well. And also that the bigger brushes are going to give you a bigger cloud. Basically, I mean, you know, I could maneuver it around enough so that it's drying. So you see, this is a perfect example. I can't get much of anything up here because this is almost all dry. Has to be done when it's wet. But the point of that was, the bigger the brush, the bigger the cloud, the smaller the brush. Obviously, the smaller the cloud. And if that fails, or what I mean to say, if you forget, as I showed you with some white, acrylic, Chinese, watercolor white, gouache, you can go in and put your own clouds in. So that's the lesson on that for today, folks. I'm going to do quite a few little smaller, shorter teachings like this, because sometimes too much is too much at the beginning, and my whole point to this channel is to be slow, beginner friendly in those areas that you just don't, kind of grasp at first when you're doing watercolor. So I hope it's been helpful. Check out my other tutorials. There's certainly some helpful things and fun things on there. And have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.